So good morning, back to Out of the Bubble in the Morning show, and the technical stuff all seems to be fixed this morning, so thank you Wi-Fi for playing and doing as you're told. It's always a bit stressful, but Amber was brilliant yesterday. We did manage to jump on Zoom, so that was really good. This morning's guest, I'm really excited to introduce you to somebody that I would now class as a friend, even though we've only spent one day together. We were meant to be meeting in London later on in the year, but I'm sure that will happen. I met Fay Reid at a Refinery 29 shoot, which was all about the positive sides of perimenopause. So I'm excited to join Fay and catch up with her this morning. Good morning.
Morning, Rachel. How are you?
Good morning. Good. I'm good, thank you. It's lovely to see you this morning. We were just saying before we came on, haven't we, that it's just nice to keep these connections going through lockdown.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there are periods where I've been a bit over a Zoom call, but I think for me, living on my own, it's definitely been a bonus. And it's just one way to kind of connect to people and remember that you're still alive and there's still a life kind of going on out there.
Yeah. How have you managed to get structure to your day when you're on your own?
The first 8 weeks of lockdown was quite good for me because I just started a little contract job.
Right.
So working from home, they made sure they had daily catch-ups with each team at 9 a.m. in the morning. So it meant I had to get up, get dressed. I have to admit, the first week, I was like, makeup was on, pristine. And then it got to the second week. And then just as I logged on, I was like, oh, shit, I haven't combed my hair. It all went to pot. But it's been really good. I think after I stopped working, I tried to maintain that getting up, getting dressed and stuff. But what sticks in my mind, there was one particular day I got up, had a shower and everything. And just as I stepped out the shower, I went, bugger this, I'm putting the pajamas back on. And I put my pajamas back on, stayed in bed all day and just binged on Netflix. And I just thought, do you know, it is that we'll never get this back again. And it's like, why rush around and do something and get dressed if you don't have to? Just take that time for yourself and just be kind to yourself. So it's been a bit up and down, and trying to find a new job as well when people are only interviewing over Zoom. And also, it's been a strange time. The one thing the phrase I don't like is the new normal, because it's like, I don't want this to be our normal. I want it to be different. So, it's been up and down.
Yeah, let's see. Definitely like a roller coaster, definitely.
Oh, gosh,
so we met. It seems like ages ago, but it was last year, wasn't it? For our Refinery 29 shoots. I can't even remember what month it was now. Was it the back end of the year?
Yeah, it was October. Yes, I think it was October, November, because I just left my job of 5 years.
Yes.
That job in October. Yeah, so it was October, November time we did it.
So that's seems like a lifetime ago. But we'd never met before, and we were both invited by Refinery 29 magazine to come and do a shoot with them and to share our stories of the perimenopause. Now, I don't know about you, but before I started going in and having the signs of perimenopause, I'd never even heard of that term.
No, I didn't know it existed. For me, it was just menopause. And I still, to this day, just go, oh, I'm going through the menopause. I'll never say, oh, perimenopause, which is actually the start of your symptoms showing through. And it's only when you've gone through that, you've actually had the menopause. So I find that quite confusing in a way. Yeah. I'm not sure how that quite works. But it was interesting.
So how did because the journey through the perimenopause and into the menopause has really changed you. It's changed your mentality, it's changed your outlook on life. So how did that all start, and how did you first realise that you were going through these changes?
For me, and it was quite something, I was the first week into a new job. I was EA to a CEO, and I was sat at my desk and I kept getting these hot kind of flushes. And it was only till like the second or third week, because it was very intermittent, not like every day and not like 4 or 5 times a day. It was just as and when. And it was on the third week, I was like, oh, I'm having hot flushes. And I instantly just laughed to myself. Also, the job I was doing, we were just about to move. So I was sat on the top floor with all the tech guys. There was only one other female up there. And I was just thinking, I can't even say anything. And I'm like thinking, I'm really hot. I'm really hot. But I was fine. I was actually fine for about a year. I quite like homeopathic remedies. So I did take myself off to Whole Foods and see what they had and tried to speak to someone there. The lady was lovely, but she didn't really have a clue. So I just started to investigate stuff on online, and I kind of realized that people were starting to talk about it, but there wasn't much information out there. So I kind of just rode the wave for about a year, and it was my mum's second diagnosis of cancer, which kind of sent me into a tailspin. My job became super stressful. I had quite a long commute to work. It was about an hour and a half each way. And yeah, that's when my symptoms really kind of went through the roof. Not sleeping, anxiety, the hot sweats were just completely out of control. So I kind of decided I need some help. I was really struggling. And I went to my doctor, and she was lovely. I sat there and just burst into tears. And I was just
I'm sure there'll be loads of women that can relate to that.
I was just like, I'm not happy. I don't know what to do. And she said, it's very much like you are going through the menopause, the start of the perimenopause. So she said, let's get you some help. And although I like to take alternative remedies, at that point in my life, I was like, I needed something. I just wasn't coping. So I was put on a course of HRT tablets. I kind of went back to my doctor a couple of times because the first lot she gave me didn't work. Then she increased the dose. That didn't work. Then she put me on another one. That didn't work. And then I started taking a tablet, which I thought, I feel a little bit better now. I do feel better. I was able to cope. It was quite hard. I never said anything to work. It was quite a young workforce at the time. And I just didn't say anything. I only told like friends and family. So that kind of went on for a while. And then my tablets got discontinued and went back to a GP again. And I've been quite lucky because they're not really specialists in that, but they went out of their way to find out what is going to be the best thing for you. So then I got put onto patches, which was like a godsend. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I was like, oh my God, fantastic. Even better than the tablets. Because the thing is, you just don't know what to try because we are, as women, we are all individual, and every symptoms we have is individual to us, really, in terms of the severity and stuff. So having tried those tablets and now on patches, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I took those for about a year. And during that time, kind of the business I was working for was prepping for a sale. It was super stressful. And then my mum passed away, which was quite pivotal for me because we were really, really super close. So, and I did find myself at one point Googling menopause and grief, because we're at that time in the life where we are going through the menopause, but also our parents are likely to pass away as well. And it's quite intense. And that has never kind of been discussed because you're stressed through the menopause and then you're stressed through grieving. It's a bit like it all kind of kicks off. So was it last year, I think it was, or the year before, they discontinued my HRT patches. I'm like, manufacturers don't have a clue.
That's not fair.
They really don't have a clue. This is like, this is my lifeline. How could you? So they got discontinued, and I knew I didn't want to go back on the tablets after being on the patches. So I did my own research, and I went back to my GP and I just said, look, I've done some research and I'd like to try the Mirena coil alongside some estrogen. And she said, let's give it a go. Let's try. And actually, that's even been better than the patches. So I feel back to my normal self. I feel like me. I feel like, I feel like Fay, really. It has been a bit of a journey. I think for me, when I first started the menopause and wanting to find out information and realizing that people were not talking about it, and the people that were talking about it were in quite a privileged position, I would say, because they didn't have to go to work. They could tap into private clinics and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm using the NHS. I have to get up in the morning. I have to rush from my train. I've got hot sweats going on.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to kind of just talk about that a little bit and just say, look, every woman is going to go through this, and every woman has kind of their day-to-day life where they're picking up the kids or getting the kids ready or doing or rushing around and stuff. And it's not just not for the privileged to be coming out and just going, oh, it's fine, you can look like this. And it's like, no, you can't.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So for me, it's just like, can we just keep it a little bit real? And these are the things that are going to happen. It's scary. It is really scary. But the trick is not to be frightened about it, and just to kind of get information and learn from other women and such for like, because one of the things I noticed was that there was a lot of white women talking about it, but not many black females talking about it. And I kind of wanted to highlight, like, hey, I'm black and I'm going for the menopause. It's okay. Let's talk about it some more. So it was all that kind of stuff.
Well, you're so right about that, because you mentioned that to me earlier and I'd not even thought about it. So then when I went and did a bit of research and tried to look to see what other women of colour were talking about the menopause, you're right, it's just not a subject that people engage in, is it? So for you to share your story is really, really helpful and inspiring. And so many things in that conversation that I could talk about. The workplace. How much easier would it have been if the workplace was much more supportive and much more kind of engaging in that subject for you at that particular time? If you could have gone in there and they knew what you were going through and they understood it, and practices were put in place so that if you needed to take a half-hour break, you could take that, what difference would that have made to you?
It would have been huge, because I think the company itself, how can I phrase this? They weren't set up to cover things like that because it was quite a young workforce. So I think it was in my last 2 to 3 years of being there, and I'd set up my 9-to-5 menopause, that I openly talked about it. Before that, I would be sitting there and I'd be really, really hot, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so hot. And then you'd get somebody, no disrespect, like skinny as a rag, like, I'm really cold. I'm like, eat some food. Just eat some food. You'll be fine. It was like I was always hot, and luckily the air conditioning monitor was behind me, so I was always kind of turning it down a little bit or turning it up. So it would have been so much easier. And I think work is being done now. Attention is being done. I know the police workforce and some of the courts as well are definitely implementing policies around the menopause and what women go through. So I think it's really good, but I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done, because my stress levels were off the scale. And at one point I really thought I was losing my mind. I thought, what's going on here? But I think for it to be recognized that that's a symptom and that's what someone is going through when they're going through this journey, especially in the workforce, would have just made so much difference. So much difference.
I also think it's really interesting that you had a really supportive doctor that you felt that you could keep continually going back to and saying, listen, this isn't working for me. Because I think a lot of women feel like they go to the doctors, they might get their HRT and they can't go back and say, well, actually, I'm not quite sure if this is right for me. Because I think they just think, right, I've got it, so I've just got to make that work. But I think you're right, it's so important. If you're not feeling that it's making a difference, you've got to keep going back and saying, right, I've got to relook at this.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was really lucky, because I've heard stories of women going to their GPs, and if the GP was a man, just dismissing it out of hand, just like, oh, it's fine, just get on with it. Or even seeing a female doctor and the female doctor not really understanding. And because as I said before, every woman's journey is different. Some women sail through the menopause and they haven't even batted an eyelid. And I'm like, really? But then other women, it's really debilitating for them, really debilitating. So I think I was quite lucky. And also I know my body. I knew this wasn't working for me. So I went back. But on top of that, it's like, do your research. Just find out what you would like to do. If you want to go down the holistic route, try that. More and more natural remedies are being recognised to help with the menopause. And I said before, I would have preferred a holistic route, but I don't regret one little bit taking HRT, because it saved me. It totally saved me.
Yeah. So now, though, I mean, obviously you've been through all that, but you did turn it around into such big kind of positive life changes, didn't you?
Yes. I think it was a combination of things. I think it was going through the menopause, working at a really stressful job, and my mum passing away. Those were three pivotal things for me. And I started going through the menopause. I'm like, but I still feel really young. I still get drunk and on odd occasions fall over.
We need a night out.
This can't be, because I think back in the day it'd be like, oh, you're going through the menopause, or you're well old. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't do things. And I started to see more and more women in their late 40s and 50s were completely changing their life. They'd left the job, high-flying job in the city. They wanted to become a florist and do other things. And I'm like, yes, it is possible. Now, I am a bit of a scaredy cat. I like my routine. I like just going along with things. But I think my mum passing away really, really kind of just shook my whole world up. So it was totally different. So I knew I was working towards actually leaving my job, because I knew I didn't want that big commute, and also that just to do a job just for the sake of it. I wanted to do a job that I chose and enjoyed and didn't have such a long commute for. And also, I think what spurred me on was when I cleared my mum's house after she passed away, I found my old school reports. And for me, there were two reports, my English teacher and my art teacher. My English teacher said, Fay writes really well. I think she should explore it more into her adult life. And my art teacher said, Fay's really, really creative. I see her doing something in the creative field. And I ended up being an EA to a CEO, which is fine. And I quite like doing it, but I wanted something else alongside of that. So it took me a year to build up to doing it, but that's when I launched my 9 to 5 menopause, just to do little hints, little tips, and also just to explore my writing a little bit more. And just, and it's mainly for me, but if I could help other women along the way, so be it. It's a good thing to do, I think.
So many women I've talked to have kind of rekindled something that was in them at school that they lost along the way. It's so interesting that we get to this kind of 40s, 50s, where we actually, whatever was in us at school that we kind of lost in life comes back and has always been there, but we rekindle it. It's really interesting to see that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's that thing, because when I left school at 16, I was like, I haven't got a clue what I want to do. I just knew I wanted to get out there and earn some money. And there's some people when they're younger, like 15, 16, they know what they want to do and they go on and do it. And I've always had the utmost respect for those people, and only because they knew what they wanted and I didn't. I've kind of just gone from job to job, done loads of different bits and pieces, which I've really enjoyed, and it's given me skills and life experience. But even now, I don't know 100% what I want to do. I have a couple of ideas in my mind, which I am slowly starting to explore.
Are you allowed to share those with us?
I'll share one of them.
Okay.
So I've always loved clothing, even like as a teenager, in my 20s, 30s, 40s. I've always loved clothing and stuff. And I think that's definitely been reawakened with the menopause. And only because I realized there were certain items I was wearing and I was like, oh my God, this is really making me sweat. And then I did my research again, and it's like cotton, linen, silk, any natural fibers are much better for women going through the menopause, because the synthetic stuffs will just make you hot and sweaty. Some women get away with it. I couldn't. So I've designed and got a dress made up. I've done the same for a skirt, and I kind of want to explore that a little bit more, because I think that a lot of fashion kind of immediately strikes us out when it's just like, I still like to look good, put some heels on, a nice dress and stuff. So I kind of want to explore that avenue a bit more and make and design my own bits and pieces is what I'm looking at doing. So
I think that's brilliant. And I know on the shoot, I mean, we had so much fun on that day. It was just, we just non-stop smiled, didn't we? It was brilliant. And but you did wear one of your own designs on the shoot, didn't you?
I did.
It was really colourful. And I think that's really important when you get kind of slightly older, to be bold and wear those colours and not sink into being invisible.
That is so true. I think I very much had a phase, I think probably in my 30s, early 40s, where I just wore black all the time.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And then I've suddenly discovered just like, I like that. And I think, so like a bright cerise top, I would never think of wearing it before. But now I'm like, I don't give a shit what anybody says. I'm wearing it for me. And if it makes me feel good, c'est la vie. So be it.
Absolutely. So if anybody wants to find you and read your blogs, how do they find you?
My blog is on 9 to 5 menopause. They can find it on, God, I've even forgotten the platform it's on. It'll come back, WordPress. It's on WordPress.
Right. Okay. I'll put the links on.
And my Instagram is 9 to 5 menopause as well, where I try and feature clothes on my stories. There's things, and it's more things I would wear and buy rather than picking out certain bits and pieces. So it might not be to everyone's taste, but that's why I feature my clothes. And basically, it's always cotton or natural fibers. So that's what I do.
Also, one thing I was going to ask you about as well is exercise, because part of this journey as well, you've really found a new love for exercise and weightlifting and training, haven't you?
Yes.
Did that happen at the same time?
Yes. So when I always knew, because I had such a long commute with my job, and initially for the first 4 years of that job, it was a 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. day, and then an hour and a half commute on top. I just never got the time to exercise properly. I did the odd boxing classes on the weekend, but I knew I wanted to get into it more because I know it makes you feel better. And obviously, I'd read up on weight training for older women just to build the bone density and everything like that. So, yeah, I started weight training. I'd been going past this studio on the bus for about 6 months. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I was really not put off by them, but just intimidated.
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking bodybuilding, they're going to be super buff, super skinny. Oh my God, can I do this? And it was the best decision I ever made. After I finished my job, I walked in there one Saturday and I said, I want to sign up. And they could not have been more welcoming. And also the studio itself, it's like they operate on a no bullshit policy. Everybody is inclusive and just you're there to work and they're there to help you achieve. So yeah, I was training 5 days a week before lockdown.
Wow. So how have you managed in lockdown? Have you managed to do stuff at home?
Not very well.
It's hard.
It's really hard. I'm in a flat. It's a really small flat. I've got a really grumpy neighbour below me, so there's no form of jumping around or anything. So I've done a few bits and pieces, like the studio where I did my weight training. They have videos online, so I've been following a few of them. I've done a few Joe Wicks and stuff because I'm thinking 20 minutes. You can't really moan about 20 minutes. There's no excuse. So I'm like, I push myself to do those on occasions as well. So yeah, I'm missing it. I'm really missing it.
Well, hopefully it won't be too long before you are back to it and we can catch up. But it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you this morning. Thank you so much. And yeah, just lovely. And hopefully I'll see you soon.
And you, Rachel. It was really nice to connect again.
And you. Take care. See you soon.
Care. Bye.
Bye. So that was a lovely Fay. What a pleasure to catch up with this morning. I hope you're enjoying these morning inspirations, and I will be back tomorrow and I will be talking to another Amber who actually is all the way in New Zealand. So I'll be talking to her tomorrow evening and our morning. So I'll be back tomorrow. Have a good day. Enjoy the sunshine.